Optimus Prime. For more than 3 decades, he has been the face of the Transformers. In addition to the toys, he's appeared on lunchboxes, collector's cases, posters, and storybooks. People cosplay him at conventions, and he has appeared in shows like Family Guy and Robot Chicken. But how did this icon of pop culture come to be? I'm Captain Kyle, and in this video we're going to be exploring his origins as a toy, his character in the comic books and the cartoon, all the way up into the movies. So to understand where Optimus came from, you have to understand where the Transformers came from, so we're going to broaden it out for a moment. With the deregulation of children's programming and the success of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe in the 80s, other toy companies were following Mattel's lead and coming out with cartoons as well. Tonka started their own line of robots who could change into vehicles with the help of the Japanese company Bandai. They bought over some of the team who created He-Man to launch Challenge of the GoBots, a cartoon to support this new toy line. Hasbro also was about to launch a new toy line with robots who could change into vehicles, and they teamed up with Takara in Japan. The line was to be called the Transformers, but to make it effective, they also needed a story, so they turned to Marvel Comics. Unfortunately, most of the initial material produced by Marvel's Denny O'Neil was rejected by Hasbro, though they did choose to keep 2 names. One was Prowl, the other was Optimus Prime. But it was the second attempt at Marvel, by Bob Budiansky, that would shape the nature of these characters, including that of the Autobot leader.
Here's his profile and biography that I wrote. Aside from that, I actually have right here the original handwritten biography that I came up with just to begin reading it. You know, he was product number 5796. Not that it means anything today, but that's how he was listed by Hasbro. His code name, which Denny O'Neil came up with, was Optimus Prime, and his function, which I came up with, but I was kind of told this, was Autobot leader. If he had been born on Earth, he would be a doctor, a mechanic, a scientist, and a warrior. But on Cybertron, there is no difference between these professions. So Optimus uses his skills to heal and repair, which are the same thing to Autobots, to improve the world around him and, if necessary, to destroy. He is the leader of the Autobots and also the largest, strongest, and wisest of them.
So the comic books and the cartoon came out to support the toy line. Now this is Optimus Prime. This is the very first original Optimus, and he was designated the leader. If you begged your parents a lot, for about 20 bucks, you could get Optimus Prime. Now this is indeed an original Optimus Prime from 1984. Includes on the back the tech spec that Bob wrote. It also comes with robot points. So Optimus Prime was an 18-wheeler, complete with trailer. The toy actually came from the Diaclone line. Now in the Diaclone line, he was known as Convoy. They actually put little pilots to run these robots in that particular toy line. In fact, the front of his cab swings open and has room for these Diaclone pilots. The cab transforms into the robot we know as Optimus Prime. His trailer opened up into a base and a repair station. The little car actually had a name, Roller. And there was also variations with him as well. There were various shades of blue plus some gray rollers. And he was even featured in the comics and the cartoon, as was his main trailer. So the toy was very cool, but it was the comic book and the cartoon that really launched the line. Now in the comic book, it started out with a 4-issue limited series, which ended up going far beyond the original 4 issues. In it, the Autobots and the Decepticons crash-landed on Earth 4 million years ago, and then were revived by a volcanic eruption. They began their war anew on Earth, with Optimus Prime vowing to protect humanity. The cartoon had a very similar storyline, though the continuities were definitely different. The cartoon also started out with a miniseries called More Than Meets the Eye, and Optimus Prime was voiced by legendary voice actor Peter Cullen. Both the comic book and the cartoon continued beyond their original miniseries due to the amazing popularity. Hasbro had scored a winner with the storyline. Optimus Prime as a character was noble, wise, admitted his mistakes. He was actually a very good role model for kids.
I wanted him to be this ultimate symbol of nobility and a hero. Like, he was pretty flawless, so maybe in a way he should have had, more of a gray zone, so he'd maybe have a little bit more depth to his character than just being this all-around good guy. But back then, that was my goal, is to make him all around, flawless, noble, always good intent, always sacrificing himself for the benefit of others. The one person that comes to mind that I did model him after a little bit was, I believe, Thomas Jefferson. Because if I might quote Optimus Prime's motto, "Freedom is the right of all sentient beings." And I believe I took that from Declaration of Independence.
The storylines in the cartoons, some of them were rather interesting. At one point, Optimus Prime is faced with a clone of himself, controlled by Megatron, and the Autobots decide the best way to figure out which one is real is to have a contest. There are also episodes where Optimus Prime is dismantled, and part of him becomes part of an alligator bot. It was the 80s, remember the cartoons were for kids. But while some of the stories were rather simple, they actually came up with some of the greatest stories in the history of Transformers, including the origin of Optimus Prime. In the episode War Dawn, the Aerialbots travel back in time to the golden age of Cybertron. There they meet an Autobot named Orion Pax, who runs an energy storage facility. This is near the beginning of the Cybertronian War. Megatron leads his Decepticons in a treacherous attack on the energy facility, leaving Orion Pax and his friends badly damaged. The Aerialbots take Orion Pax to a robot known as A3, who rebuilds Orion Pax into Optimus Prime. In the comic books, the stories were a bit different, and though Optimus Prime was the leader, for a time, he wasn't doing so well. He was just ahead. He was in possession of what was called the Creation Matrix, which appeared to be some energy that allowed Optimus Prime to create new Transformer life. After the miniseries, he was actually in the clutches of the Decepticon Shockwave, and eventually was rescued, though not before helping Shockwave create some new Decepticon foes. And he had a number of adventures in the comics as well. As far as his origins, they did show him in his early days on Cybertron. However, he did not seem to have a different name. He was still known as Optimus Prime, and he was a lower-ranking Autobot and was sent on various missions. Years later, Dreamwave Comics and IDW took over the Transformers comic franchise, and they went back and they did create an origin for Optimus Prime in the comic books. He was a computer operator known as Optronics, who was chosen to be the next leader of the Autobots and became Optimus Prime, though he did have a lot to learn. I definitely recommend you look up all these comic book stories. So Optimus Prime was a success, the Transformers were a success, Hasbro was quite happy. In fact, there was a special edition toy version of Optimus Prime put out in conjunction with Pepsi. There were actually two versions of this, one in the US and another in Canada. This particular variation is pretty hard to find. In Japan, they also adopted the new Transformers cartoon and mythos, though Optimus Prime was still known as Convoy. Now, Optimus Prime is such an iconic character that starting in the early 2000s, they started reissuing toys of Optimus Prime. This is a sealed commemorative Series 1 from Toys R Us. There are some changes with Optimus Prime in order to comply with modern toy standards. The Japanese reissues did not have this retooling, and they even released in 2002 the New Year's edition Optimus Prime. So Optimus Prime was a very popular character, and the Transformers line blew away the GoBots. During season 2 of the cartoon, they developed a Transformers movie, which jumped us forward in time. It is the year 2005. the treacherous Decepticons have conquered the Autobots' homeworld of Cybertron. But from secret staging grounds on two of Cybertron's moons, the valiant Autobots prepare to retake their homeland. Yes, it jumps to the future, though for us it's kind of the past. Consider it an alternate world because what would Earth be like if in 1984 sentient robots from another world came to Earth, started a war, and some of them shared their technology? Optimus, of course, was still leader. During a major battle, fought and beat Megatron. But before Optimus Prime could put an end to the menace of Megatron forever, a young Autobot, Hot Rod, jumped in, trying to help, but only succeeded in stopping Prime from dealing with Megatron, and Optimus Prime was fatally wounded. In a touching scene where loads of kids cried, Optimus Prime passed the matrix of leadership out of his body to the next Autobot leader and died. He passed it on to Ultra Magnus. Oh, I'm sorry. This is actually the Diaclone version of Powered Convoy, or Ultra Magnus. Actually a reissue. The original is so hard to find. But interesting fact, they actually used this coloration of Ultra Magnus in early movie trailers. So Optimus passed on the matrix of leadership to Ultra Magnus, but he couldn't deal with it right then. Ran into a situation where he almost died, but was reassembled and revived by the Junkions. Long story, see the movie. He ended up losing the matrix, and then Hot Rod manages to retrieve it and becomes the new leader of the Autobots, Rodimus Prime. He was no Optimus. In the comic books, Optimus died as well, playing a video game.
Back in the 1980s, computer games was pretty hot stuff. You know, it was the thing for young people to do. So I wanted to try to be current with my fan base, and so I brought in a computer game. And in fact, the human character who I believe is controlling this computer game is named Ethan Zachary. So my nephew, Ethan Zachary Budiansky, likes to brag that he killed Optimus Prime to this day.
What a way to go. You be careful, you gamers out there. And so Optimus Prime was dead. Would he ever return? I think you know the answer to that. So that's it for this video. Our next video will deal with the return of Optimus Prime, because you knew that was coming, and other versions of the toy as we continue our series on the story of Optimus Prime. See you next time.
Hi, this is Gary Chalk of Optimus Prime. Please stay tuned to Fandom Spotlite. You can watch it online at any time.